Carolyn, have we heard from anyone else?
You have all council members present at this time except for Councilmember Ndumamadu.
Okay, so everyone else is engaged. All right, let's give her 1 minute and then we'll get started, okay? Okay. Okay, it's currently 7:02, and I think if everyone's okay, we'll go ahead on and get started. Are we ready to get started? Carolyn?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the special city council meeting of Tuesday, December 21st, 2021. It is now 7:02 p.m. Madam City Clerk, I just want to make sure we will now go to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Madam City Clerk, I'd like to verify that we do, for the record, that we do have a quorum.
Yes, all council members are present.
All right. First and foremost, I'd like to thank city staff, the council as a whole, and also those in the city who may be joining us for the special session. The reason is the discussion on the COURSERA agreement, and at this time, I believe it appropriate to turn it over to the city attorney or to go forward at this time.
Good evening, Council, and I really appreciate your coming together for this special meeting on essentially the eve of the holiday. I appreciate that. I just need, I think, just a couple minutes of your time. You had tasked Mr. Buggs and I and the city manager's office with drafting up the contract to implement the proposal that COURSERA had made to you with respect to workforce training. In the process of doing that, it became clear to me, at least, that what you will be getting from COURSERA is not what was presented to the public when the award was made. So I need to clarify that council is still on board with the proposal as it turns out to be, and that is, so it was presented to you that you would be getting 125 licenses for $50,000, plus the extra 125 Google certificate scholarships. I haven't been able to find out how much those certificates are actually worth, but that was an add-on. And they were going to provide the embedded form for your website, which was originally proposed at $5,000. They are going to give that to you at no charge. So when I was drafting the contract, that's what I put into it. And what's actually being proposed is that for the $50,000, you are getting a year of service from COURSERA in which you can use up to 125 licenses, but those licenses are going to be discontinued on the 1-year anniversary of the contract, unless you renew for another $50,000 on an annual basis. So you're not buying licenses, you're buying the package for a year, which means that you're in truth getting substantially fewer than 125 licenses, or at least substantially fewer than 125 1-year licenses, which is what they would get if they went to Coursera's website and just bought their license as an independent person. So if you do that, you get a license for a year. This is, you get to use Coursera's services for a year. So if somebody signs up for a license, in, let's say it's 30 days, like they're one of the first to jump on board, and they sign up 30 days out from the contract, once we get the embeddable form, and they go on your website and they sign up. And so let's say, sort of best case scenario, that license is going to be for 11 months. In point of fact, you're very unlikely to get most of those licenses used for some period, initiated for some period after that. So some of them are going to be substantially shorter than a year. And in order to get them to go on for the rest of the term, you have to re-up next January or whenever it is for another $50,000, and it sort of rolls over that. And it's their standard enterprise package. So it's their business plan. So I'm not suggesting that they're offering you less than they would in a standard enterprise package, but ordinarily they do that in the context of offering it to business. So, and the business has employees and they turn over, and the licenses can be reassigned. So for a business that has, a continuing ongoing need, I think that works a little bit better than in our context. However, whatever council wants us to pursue, I can write. I just need to make sure that what I'm writing is what you all collectively understood the deal to be, because it took me by surprise.
Okay, thank you so very much. I think what I will do is initially start off, if I could say this, because I have experience with purchasing seat licenses and things of this nature. And what you said that Coursera is talking about is standard policy for the industry. When I go out and buy 50 or 100 or 500 seats, they're good for a year. And depending on when I assign those, they're just good for that contract year. So I was of the understanding that was how we were moving forward. And so that was clear to me, but because I do that. That's something I do every year. That's a business model that they use and that I'm comfortable with and I use, and I thought that's what we were agreeing to. So I'll turn it over now to any other council member who has any question or would like to chime in at this point.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, I'd like to chime in since I kind of brought
Please.
it up.
Go right ahead, Councilwoman Endemadu.
So just to give a brief background, when I made the motion in the very beginning and brought this whole entire idea to the forefront for our residents, it was always with the understanding that the licenses would be for a year. It was never with the understanding, and the motion was never made with the intent or the understanding that each license would last for a year. Typically, when a software company does an enterprise agreement, it is for a year duration, which is why it is our responsibility to make sure that the community is aware of it. And I understand like the idea of projecting, but I don't like to speak in absolutes when it's not an absolute fact that we won't, like to say we won't get people to sign up or like enough people won't sign up. Like it's only 300 licenses. We have 60,000 residents. Like if we can't get like, I don't know, like that is a bit, I don't know, that's a bit off kilter to me, this idea that we won't get people to sign up or people won't be able to sign up. I because of how great the opportunity is and the fact that if an individual were to go to Coursera's website and access Coursera's website, yes, could they utilize Coursera as an individual consumer? They could. Could they get access to the certificates that would then get them jobs? They could not. They would have to pay for that. That is the aspect of the pay. And so part of our initiative in providing this opportunity is to get people to get certificates so that they can now qualify for the job that they want to qualify, and put them in a pathway so that they can put them on the pathway so that they can get direct interviews with certain companies, because that's part of what the program offers. And to my understanding, I think we initially, I don't remember initially how many, I know there was like 125 licenses, then I think it went up to 250, and I think it's now at like 375 or something like that.
No, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but it's 125 licenses. It's 250 Google certificate scholarships, but the licenses are still 125.
Right. So just to clarify, Google Scholar is it is an actual license. So with the 120 Google scholarships, they will be able to access all full services of Coursera.
I don't think that's what they said to me, but that's fine. That's great if that's the case.
Yeah, that is the case. So it is not 125 licenses. The Google Scholarship is a program through Coursera that allows people to get Google certificates that would then put them in an interview round with Google should they pass their certificate and Google's recruiter pick them. But that gives them, they still have full access to Coursera's entire website and entire course load, and it does count as a license. Yes, that is factual. If you go to the RFP, it's in there. And then they also threw in another 125 after that. So if they threw in 250 Google certificates and then we have 125 licenses, that's 375 licenses in total. So just to clarify, that is 375 licenses. They're just 250 of them have access to Google scholarships, but they still get full access to the website. But it's in the RFP, and I know Coursera well enough to know what they're offering. So that is essentially the offer that is on the table based off the RFP. So just to kind of put that in context for the rest of the council members, and happy to just stop talking so other people can ask their questions, that where the contract is today in terms of what Coursera is offering is way more value than what anybody else proposed completely. We talked about how staff was concerned about the automation or, signing people up in the manual labor. Coursera has agreed to automate that through our website. So anybody that signs up for Coursera through the city of Bowie, they will automatically be enrolled and they will receive licenses, and that will all be manual. So there will be no actual labor that staff would need to do besides meet with them once a month to go over the analytics of the usage of how many people are using it, or reassign the license if they need to, or deal with any type of discrepancy that may come up. But typically the way an enterprise agreement works is that it's a standard year, and it would be the same that if a consumer went and signed up on their website, they would only have, and they paid for it to be able to get the certificate and be able to get into certain programs, which is $500 per person. Just to throw that out there, it is $500 to access Coursera as an individual. They would essentially then they would only have access to it for a year, and then in the year they would need to renew for $500. So essentially it's the same, that it's just our time period for whatever the date we sign the contract is, the year will start on that day. And so just because we sign the contract doesn't mean that we have to say, okay, licenses are activated on the day we sign the contract if that's January 1st. It just means that you need to pick a start date as to when those licenses are going to start and align them to when the city will be prepared to market that or send emails out to whatever avenues to make sure that people are aware of it. And I already said during the last meeting that I'm happy to help with that effort. So that's all I want to add so people have more context, and I'll just go on mute now.
Thank you, Councilwoman. That added a great deal of clarity, I think, to what the questions were. Are there any other questions by any of the council members?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Please go right ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that clarification. I do want to know, we signed the contract, the day we signed the contract, the licenses begin. Do we have any residents available? Okay, so the day we signed the contract, that year starts, correct?
No, it doesn't have to, not exactly. The day you can start, and I don't know what they told you, Alyssa, but being in that world, you absolutely can sign a contract and put a start date on the actual license date. So if you sign the contract today, tomorrow, whenever, you can put that the licenses start on January the 5th or February the 1st. You can do that.
They have said to me that they will not start any services until they have the $50,000, which has to be the start date of the contract. And that means that they won't start preparing the embeddable form until that day. And your contract will start running on that day. So you will have your actual licenses up and running sometime after that, but not on day one. And the contract will be running. This is what they told me. All I can tell you is what they told me, that the contract will be running from that day.
Yeah, that's not how enterprise agreements work. So I'm happy to get on the call with you and Colleen, but that's not my impression. And that's really typically not how an enterprise agreement works. You can because it's clear that we're not ready to start. Like, it's clear that we're not ready to vocalize this out to residents, especially being the holidays. So we can, yes, go back to COURSERA and Colleen and say, hey, we essentially want the licenses to start on X day, and the day that you do the payment is whatever day you do the payment. But you can say it needs to start on X day because they understand that it's an enterprise agreement and you're not essentially ready for those licenses to begin. That is something that you can ask for.
You can ask for the license. I'm sure they will delay the implementation of a license to any date that you want. But what they told me, and I specifically asked them this question because we wanted them to give us the form as a prerequisite to starting the contract so that you would be able to be up and running on day one. And they said, we cannot do that.
Right. But okay, let me clarify, because I think we're saying the same thing, but we're saying it in different ways. Will they give you the form prior to you signing the contract? They will not.
Because there's paying them.
Correct. There's no signed contract. However, if the license starts on February 1st, and that is the day that you negotiate and articulate to them that, hey, my license needs to start on February 4th, my year starts on February 4th.
No, that's not what they told me.
But I'm telling you, but you can ask them that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, I did, but I'm happy to ask them again.
Yeah, happy to call Colleen myself as well. Like, there's something
That's
you can
not
do.
necessary.
I think what I will chime in right now, I don't mean to talk over anyone, and I will say that from my enterprise, the contracts I've signed, I will say that what we do is we sign the contract and we tell them the date we want to start. Because I hear what you're saying, Alyssa. You're saying, wait a minute, if they're gonna not start it until and put things in place, so I lose a month just waiting for them to put it in place after I sign. But that is not how it typically works with me. I sign the contract and I have the date when we're going to start. And then the start date is then. Otherwise, you're right. They could drag their feet on putting the forms together and other things, and you could miss the whole year. You could miss a month out of it or whatever. So I agree with that. But historically, every time I've done it, you're able to tell them when your start date. You have to sign the contract because they don't want to do any work unless they know they have the contract. But once you sign the contract, they should be working with you on the date of when you actually want to start your licenses.
Which is a good thing.
Start the licenses on any date that you want, but they were clear that on the 1 year point from the date of contract, you have to sign you have to re-up for another year.
So my question is, can we get the people first to sign up and then start the licenses? Can we do it that way? Because I'm just afraid. I just want to make sure we have the people to fill those seats that we're paying for, and that they're able to do it within that year time frame.
Yeah.
Well, you could start marketing the city could start marketing its program independent of this, right? You could do that, right? And we don't have to sign a contract for months, although the last 125 licenses are dependent on you signing the contract before the end of the year. So and I would have to clarify with them if, as Roxy believes, the contract signature date is something other than the start date of, isn't tied to the 1 year, right? If we can say, okay, we're going to sign the contract on December 23rd, but we don't want the effective date to be until January 23rd or February 23rd, which I think is what Roxy is suggesting we can do. And if that's true, I certainly will attempt to do it. It isn't what they told me, but.
Yeah, I think the one thing that we as council, while we're here tonight, and before we go up a little further, is just that we all understand that once the licenses start, and let's just utilize start date. I'll use that. The start date of the contract for the licenses, that enterprise-wide, it just goes for 1 year. So that means if somebody decides, 11 months into it, they are only going to get 1 month. And I think most of us understand that that's how the contract works. And those who sign up in the beginning get the full year, and those who sign later. I think that's the real question. I think, Alyssa, we were trying to make sure is that council understood that it's only good for 1 year, i.e. the contract year, and not for 1 year from when individuals sign up. And so I just want to make sure that everybody is comfortable and understands that. I think that's the real key of why we're calling this now, because I believe Alyssa wanted to make sure that every one of you understood that part of it and made sure that there was no misrepresentation or understanding. And for those of us, I think, who do enterprise things, I kind of knew that, but I appreciate City Attorney for bringing that forward. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands that. That's the real key tonight. And we just want to make sure that nobody's misled and that we're all on the same page there. So I think we are, but I just want to make sure, is there anybody who's not on the same page there with that portion?
I think we need to clarify, Roxy's comment with COURSERA. I just want to be clear on that piece as far as the start date.
Okay,
as far as changes, making sure the start date is what we want.
I just looked up the answer. So basically, if the contract is signed tomorrow, I just looked it up in my just my database on my computer. If the contract is signed tomorrow, you have up and I'm just hypothetically speaking. I'm not saying we're signing a contract tomorrow. Hypothetically, if you sign a contract tomorrow, you have up until 90 days for the start date to start. So essentially, let's say, for example, you sign the contract today and you don't want the licenses to start until February because of whatever reason, then the licenses can start in February and they will be active for 1 year from February, not from the day that you signed the contract.
Can you send that to me?
Happy to, but that is
Thank
the correct.
you.
Yeah. So the licenses don't start on the day the contract is signed. It's signed on the day that you set for it to be active. But that day can only be pushed out up to 90 days after the contract is signed. So the start date has to start 90 days after the contract is signed.
And do they run for a year from that night, from whatever date that is within 90 days?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think we've addressed that. Councilwoman Harrison, thank you so very much for that question. I think that helped clarify for a lot of people. And thank you, Councilwoman Ndabamadu, for providing that information.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please, go right ahead.
This is Councilmember Gardner. I do understand quite clear what is going on here, but what I think to be certain, so that, one, we are all clear and all on the same page and getting the same information, would it be wise that perhaps we just invite COURSERA into chambers, have them explain it, and then we can just be done there? Because this is a great service, but what we want to make certain of is that we're not paying for something that is going to time out on us and we end up having no licenses. So I'm hearing Councilwoman Ndabamadu's explanation, and it works for me, and I'm hearing the city attorney's explanation, and it works for me. So, but I think to get, there are always two sides to a story, but to get some clarity, maybe we should have them come here and present in front of chambers so that we can get some clarity. I'm sorry, the city attorney, she has her hand up.
Yeah, can I just...
Go ahead, city attorney.
So the problem is that portions of the deal that COURSERA is extending to you in the form of the additional scholarships are only available to you if we get agreement on a contract this week. I believe that's also true of the incentive with the $5,000 that you don't have to pay the $5,000 for the embeddable form that they're going to do for you. Right. So if you do that, just be aware that you're going to be losing theoretically, they could extend them, I suppose. But my information as of now is that those offers will expire.
Hey, Councilman
Thank you,
Gardner,
Ms.
Councilman Gardner, I believe, and again, having worked, and I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but that's pretty much how the enterprise, the seat licenses, as I refer to them, it works. And I think we clarified that portion right now, and I think the city attorney can go back, and if they are saying something different than what we're saying there. But I wanted to make it clear that everybody, and I think we're all understanding now, I know that you only get the licenses for 1 year after the contract starts. And when I say the contract starts, I'm talking about the start date of the seat licenses. Okay? And you only get it for 1 year from that. And I think that's the real clarification we wanted to make tonight. And I think we've done that. Now, city attorney, if that in some way, shape, or form is different than the experiences I've had, and I think others have had, then we should know. But I think we are all on the same page there and understanding the seat licenses from when we say the start date is only lasts from 1 year from the start date that we tell them that we're going.
Okay,
And
I will clarify with that.
Yes, and I
It's
think
certainly
that's the clarification
possible.
needed.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, city attorney.
It's certainly possible that they are watching this evening. And so they will have heard this whole trend, and that will make it easier for me to confirm with them that we can write the contract the way it's being described to me.
Right.
So
Okay.
that it should be fine. If for any reason it's not, I'll send you an email.
Okay, sounds good. And I think everybody's good with understanding that once we agree on the date of the start of the seat agreements, i.e. sign a contract, and then we say, this is when they start, and we've heard the point that they have to start within 90 days of the signing of the contract, that it goes from that start date of when we say the seat licenses begin for 1 year out. And so I think that's the clarification we all wanted. Any other questions? Councilman DeFore?
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry,
you
Mr.
giving me
Mayor.
that look.
Mr.
Any
Mayor.
other comment? Yes, go ahead.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, could you restate that again for clarity? Your comment that we're waiting for. Could you?
Okay.
Yes, I
Yeah,
just want to
for
make
clarity.
sure I got.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Council.
Go ahead.
What we're doing for clarity for that is that we are making sure that everybody understands, and for the public to understand, as well as council, that the seat licenses, once we sign the contract and we say the seat licenses start on X day, they're only good for 1 year from that date. And so that doesn't mean that each time somebody signs in after that start date, they get a year. It's 1 year from the start date to and 1 year from that. And so you have to utilize them within that 1 year of the start date. And so if somebody comes in 11 months after the start date, they only get 1 month. That's the clarity we're trying to make, and that's what I want to make sure. Now, in seat licenses that I get, that's how it works. And I've always done with those enterprises, and that's what we need to and I think that's the clarity, because I think the city attorney wanted to make sure that the council nor the public were misled in any way, shape, or form of understanding what that time frame is. And so that's the key, that we have it 1 year from when we say the seat licenses start.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Yes. Councilwoman Harrison?
So, Mr. Mayor, if I'm resident and I want to sign up in June, and then the license expires in December, around the time we sign or say February, whatever it is, then what happens if I'm not finished with the training, or it goes away? I'm not complete. I haven't completed everything.
Yes. And the point is, at that point, you would have to re-up on your own dime, so to speak. You would have to.
Got it. Okay. Okay, so we just need to make sure residents understand that when they sign up for it,
Yes.
when
Yes.
when it will expire,
Yes.
right?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's the clarification that I think the city attorney was trying to make sure that we put out right now, that
Right.
people understand
Right.
that.
Well, I think they need to have a box that they need to check, or I agree to the following terms on
Right.
our website. So we know that they understand, and they're clear on what the terms of the agreement are.
Absolutely.
I totally agree with Councilwoman Harrison on that. I totally do.
Yeah. You know, and one of the things, and I'm going to go a little off script, and bear with me, Council. I'm going to say, and that's why it becomes so very important for all of us, as we're using this as a benefit for the citizen, to make sure that we use all of our networks as well, to make sure people understand that, but also that we start letting people know about it, so that the date that the seat licenses start, that we can have people and let them know ahead of time so they can queue themselves up to be ready to do that, so they can take full advantage of the full year. So I
Correct.
agree with you, Councilwoman, that's a good point. All right, any other questions?
So
Anyone?
I do have a question, Mr. Mayor. So we are going to move forward with this tonight, correct?
Yes, that is my thought. I think we've clarified it, and that's my thought, yes, that we move forward.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, everybody good with that and understanding that? Because I do have one other comment I'd like to make once we move past this. City Attorney, are you good?
I believe I am. I just to clarify though, what I'm expecting them to say is that if we sign the contract, we can start the effective date in sometime in the future, which will give you, the city, time to start marketing the program and perhaps get some people pre-signed up if possible.
Correct.
Not officially signed up for the licenses, but sort of on your list as they're ready to go on day 1 or day 15, and not
Gotcha.
6 months from now.
Okay, I think that's right.
That's the
Now,
understanding that
everybody's
I
okay.
have at this time. So I just want to make sure that everybody else is clear, because that's the understanding I have, that we can give them, but I think Roxy mentioned 90 days. So,
Yeah.
Right,
Do you all, I'm sorry, thank you for bringing that up, Councilwoman.
right.
Is it your collective view that I should get as much of that 90 days as possible? You would like to start, is it accurate to say you'd like to start sort of as far in the future as we can, so that you have the most time to get up and running?
That's what I think. I don't know, Una's raising her hand, so she would be the one kind of putting the information out there, so.
I agree with that as well.
So the issue here is that we can't work with QUORSERA on the marketing materials until we have a signed contract. So it's going to take some time to do that part of it. I don't know how long, because I don't know how pre-canned it's going to be what we get. So I don't think we will have 90 days to market before seat license start date. So just as long as everybody realizes that, we can continue to market after the turn on date, but we may not have 90 days to market it. Does that make sense?
So
Because
this
you
would
want to
be-
get the materials? Is that what you're saying, Una?
Alyssa, did you want to weigh in there?
Alyssa?
I think what we would be talking about is the city undertaking its own marketing efforts before the effective date of the contract is right. I don't think, and
it would be in that 90-day period, because they're supposed to be providing us with some canned information, helping to develop press releases and things like that, some marketing materials.
let me go back to Roxy then and ask her whether she's saying that we can sign the contract and give them the money and they will start the process to give you the course catalog and the embeddable form.
Councilwoman Enderby.
Sorry. Oh yeah, I just want to let you know I'm here. I don't to my understanding, and this one I will say I'm not sure if it's 100% accurate. My understanding is that once a contract is signed, that yes, they can give you the course catalog to begin developing, like, because we're going to leverage their pre-canned course catalog to do to be able to kind of like just kind of repurpose that and do our marketing. So my understanding is that once a contract is signed, not after the payment, but once a contract is signed, then they will be able to, there's an onboarding call that's set up. And then like during that onboarding call, that's when they, go over all of this stuff and then send the materials right after that call. To my understanding, it's not after the payment, but I could be wrong on that one.
Yeah, I need to clarify that with them because I understood them to tell me that they won't do anything until you've paid the money. But again, maybe I'm misunderstanding them.
And I will say typically signing the contract for a lot of enterprise I've done, they want payment too, not just a contract, because they don't want to release any proprietary data or anything until that. So, and I would think that would be something that we could do right away after we sign the contract is pay the contract fee and then get started. All right, that was a good point, Una. Thank you so very much. All right, any other questions, concerns? Alyssa, I think you have everything you need to move forward.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you, everyone. I would now like, thank you. I would now like the council, if you would bear with me, I'd like to make one announcement before we get off. And that is, I would like to congratulate Councilwoman Ingrid Harrison on her engagement. I hope I didn't embarrass you, Ingrid, but I needed to do that. Congratulations.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Yes, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Look, and if it was any kind of a secret, I'm in trouble.
No, it's not a secret.
Thank
you.
Hey,
Congrats. Congrats.
there you go.
Nice one too. Okay,
Yes,
Ingrid.
it is.
Thank you.
Congrats.
You did a good job.
Hey, I would like
Thank you for saying that, Mr. Mayor.
say thank you to all of you for bearing with us as we did this special session, but we need to clarify for council, but also for the public. And I appreciate you in the middle of the holidays going along session. Having said that, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Mayor. Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, respond with an aye.
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 Opposed, same favor. Hearing none. Hey, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, everyone. Hey, God bless
Same
you.
to you.
Stay safe.
Thank you.
And talk to you soon. Goodbye.